Colossians 3 and 4. Well, we continue with the same picture that we saw last time in Colossians 1 and 2. Again, Paul is seeing a story unfold. He's not creating new theology. And his story that he's seeing is more specific than just Christians in general. But we're seeing a story of Gentiles being included in the Holy Family, as it were, the family of Abraham, and thus inheriting the resurrection that they alone were originally promised through Abraham and his loyalty to Yahweh. So just some more verses again from chapters 3 and 4, and watch how they tie in. Chapter 3, 1 through 4. If then you were raised with Christ, seek those things which are above, where Christ is, sitting at the right hand of God. Set your mind on things above, not on things on the earth, for you died. Now, of course, that could be true of everyone. Everyone should set their mind on things above. But I think coming at it, in fact, as we continue, let's do this in verses 5 through 7. And you'll see classically Gentile actions, activities, and mindsets. Therefore, put to death your members which are on the earth: fornication, uncleanness, passion, evil desire, and covetousness, which is idolatry. I don't think he's lowering idolatry to just worldly issues. He's heightening worldly, fleshly thinking to the way that evil spirits want us as humans to think. A good verse, again, we already have mentioned in this regard is James 3:15, where he uses three words together: earthly, sensual, and demonic. So the idea that how do you know if a person is being led by a created spirit? In the biblical story, more often than not, it's that they live out fleshly desires. So Paul is reminding the Gentiles, who normally would not have associated morality with religion. Yes, we need to be very concerned about our morality because Christ and the Father are very moral. Because of these things, the wrath of God is coming upon the sons of disobedience, those over whom these spirits still control their lives. Those would be the sons of disobedience, those characterized by disobedience, in which you yourselves once walked. So they're not here, they're here, they're stopped worshiping, and now they're, of course, worshiping Jesus and the Father. 3, 9 to 11, do not lie one to another. Now here's where many of the injunctions that we read of in these kind of books are about the tempestuous nature of this family, of course. Do not lie one to another, since you have put off the old man with his deeds and have put on the new man. That new man is talking about the new mankind, the new family, the new arrangement of how this group is to work together, who is renewed in knowledge according to the image of him who created him, where there is neither Jew nor Greek. So the new man is talking about this whole body of believers now that is not to be divided between uncircumcised, circumcised, barbarian, Scythian, and so forth. 3, 14 and 15, but above all these things put on love, which is the bond of perfection. And let the peace of God rule in your hearts, to which you are also called in one body. They are one body, even though they are so different. Remember what we're recommending here. Paul was recommending that Gentiles act as Gentiles and Jews act as Jews. So very different lifestyles generally. 3, 18 to 20, wives, submit to your husbands as fitting to the Lord. Husbands, love your wives and do not be bitter toward them. Children, obey your parents. Now again, I don't think this is Paul stopping and saying, you know what, we need to teach these people how to have happy families. He's dealing with Gentiles who were, in the main, thinking of family because of their background as simply a matter of social status and passing on of possessions to their next of kin. So the idea of having a family, husbands and wives and children, that looked to Jesus for how they were to act, that's new. And so that's why even those quick statements, wives, obey your husbands in the Lord, I think would have been very new ideas to these people. 3:23 and 24. And whatever you do, do it heartily as to the Lord. Remember that conversation in Romans about doubtful things. There's going to be a lot of doubtful activity between these two groups. And if they're going to get along together as one family, The best way to think is in terms of whatever you do, whatever doubtful activity you may be involved in, do it unto Jesus. And that will be how this family will have to work. Knowing that from the Lord you will receive the reward of the inheritance. Again, that inheritance of resurrection, first promised to the Jew, is now coming through the Gentile as well. And then as we close up the book, 4, 10, and 11, Aristarchus, my fellow prisoner. Again, we're understanding that Paul is writing this from the prison cell of either Caesarea, Acts 24, or Rome, Acts 28. Aristarchus, my fellow prisoner, greets you with Mark, the cousin of Barnabas, and Jesus, who is called Justus. These are my only fellow workers in the kingdom, for the kingdom of God, who are of the circumcision. I take that to mean that Paul is again working with Gentiles. There are still some missionaries, as it were, to Jews. Their main goal was to get Jews to worship Jesus, but to also stay Jewish. So, of the circumcision, meaning you would have expected in that story, Mark and Aristarchus and Barnabas to be working with Jews who still followed Sabbath and feast seasons and kosher and so forth. Interesting verse in 4:16. Now when this epistle is read among you, see that it is read also in the church of the Laodiceans. Laodicea is a city just down the river. And that you likewise read the epistle from Laodicea. So this book, this short letter, probably sounded somewhat like the Laodicean letter, but it was different enough that Paul wanted them to exchange letters. And it's interesting to ask, well, whatever happened to the Laodicean letter? There is some theory that the book of Ephesians was that Laodicean letter based on some textual evidence. So the point is that Paul must have been writing many letters to many groups, many churches, and at least in this one case, Paul wanted this letter of the Colossians, or to the Colossians, to be exchanged with a letter that was just down the road from them.